Welcome back to another episode of the Know Your Power podcast. I am your host, Julia Renee.
And Kendall Aaliyah.
And today's episode 2?
Yes.
Question mark? Of the Wellness Division series. Today, we're going to be talking about the judging criteria. We're going to go to everything from physique, posing, hair, makeup, suit, shoes, overall presentation. This is everything that the judges are going to be critiquing you on when you're on stage. This information's from Tyler Mannion himself from the video that he posted about the Wellness Division, also from NPC News Online. So, yeah. And then also, I've added in a little bit of things that I have done, that I've realized I think about the presentation as far as like hair, makeup, and things that I have noticed myself and that other competitors have told me as well. And I'm sure like you have some as well.
I'll add my own thoughts too.
But yeah, so if you're a wellness girly, I hope you enjoyed the first episode. And I love it too, because now when people like DM me questions about wellness, I'm like, we have a podcast for that that goes into everything that you absolutely need.
So nice. I did one of those like Instagram Q&As recently, and every single question I was like, do I just link the podcast?
Yeah, every question is like, listen to this one. Listen, because we've talked about so much stuff. So yeah. So first we're going to go into the physique standards, like what they're looking for as far as physique. So let's start with stuff that they don't want to see. They don't want to see too much muscle in the upper body. This is something that we talked about in a previous episodes, how they were starting to notice that a lot of the wellness competitors were getting too big in their upper body because they want to see a little bit bigger than bikini. They don't want to see like figure
They also want to see like the same leanness in upper body as bikini, not that like next step striated figure shoulder cap, you know.
True. Another thing that they don't want to see is that the upper body is too big in comparison to the lower body. So they definitely want to see that shape that is hourglass, but they also like it's not symmetrical. So the upper body is smaller than the lower body, which is the only division that is not symmetrical, which is crazy. But they don't want to see that. They also don't want to see thick, dense waists. This is Tyler Mannion's words. These are not really my words, but where your waist is just very like thick. Yeah. And you know what that means when you see it too. Also that this is kind of just like genetic also. I mean,
I do think you can kind of manipulate it with posing though. So I think they are looking for like more of that like really twisted like front pose instead of being like hips square to the judges. That'll kind of like help at least make that illusion. Cause a lot of it can be genetic, but I also feel like sometimes when you're training this intensely on your legs to be a wellness competitor, sometimes you're squatting really heavy and deadlifting really heavy, and that really can build up like your obliques a good amount. So just being conscious of it with your training style, I feel like can help too.
Very true. Yeah. They don't want to see legs that are too muscular and that are unbalanced. So having your quads be way bigger than your hamstrings or your glutes be way bigger than your quads. They want to see your quads, your glutes, and your hamstrings to all be like the same level of muscularity.
Which makes sense.
Yeah, like no lacking area. So even though it is a division where they want the upper body smaller than the lower body and it's not completely symmetrical, they want the lower body to be symmetrical.
Yeah, like within itself.
Within it's like its own entity, and then the upper body is
symmetrical
separate.
Lower body.
Yes. They don't want to see striations or deep separation and not overly quad dominant. So this is something that we talked about in a previous episode, but how a lot of the competitors were showing up on stage like super shredded, and that's not what they intended the wellness division to be. They wanted it to be about the same level of leanness as bikini, but it started getting like figure level shredded. So I'm really curious to see at this year's Olympia, like who we should do an episode where we guess who's going to be top 5 in the Olympia. Like Olympia
Should we do
predictions.
That next week?
We probably should.
Okay.
We probably should. And
How
then
exciting.
And then we can do like an after like Olympia update and everything like that.
We can talk about how well we guessed it.
Yeah, if we
I
did
feel like
good
we
or not.
typically agree on physiques though.
Yeah.
Like usually.
I still think Fran's going to be number 1.
Yeah.
She's like the C-bum of wellness to where it's going to be very hard to knock her off the top.
Did you see Angela is not competing?
Angela's not, Yarishna's not, Sunny's not.
Yeah. Like so I don't even know who.
3 of the top 5ers are not competing.
Yeah.
Which I'm happy for them that they're gonna actually like take a break. Like it's so deserved and much needed. But wait.
What were you gonna say?
But wouldn't Angela have been pre-qualified for the Olympia?
Yeah, I think she's just choosing not to.
They also have an update on pre-qualifications. I think someone sent it to me, and I might be wrong when I'm saying this, so just don't quote me on this, but someone sent me something on Instagram and it said that usually it's the top 5 automatically qualify, right? And now it's only number 1 automatically qualifies for next year's Olympia without having to re-qualify.
I think it always depended on division. So is that the new wellness?
That's the new wellness standard, yeah. Is that instead of top 5, it's only 1, but that's going to start That's going to start at this year's Olympia.
So I feel like that makes sense because if you think about it, like the wellness division was so new that they probably wanted to continue qualifying like the certain top competitors. And now that it's big enough, now they're like, chill, okay,
we don't need this many people.
I also wonder if it has to do with like not enough competitors competing at all the pro shows because they already are qualified. That could be another
That's
factor
true.
too.
And some of their biggest like top Olympians aren't competing this year, which is crazy.
Yeah, so it's going to be an interesting one.
This is going to be like, because we're not going to have any of the faces that we've seen for the past couple of years like in the top 10.
Yeah.
So I'm really, really curious. I'm excited. I'm going to get to go and I can't wait. But yeah, we'll do that. That's besides the point. So yeah, that's what they do not want to see. What they do want to see is that hourglass shape that you know and love with the lower body dominating the upper body. They want to see cap shoulders, which are slightly bigger than bikini, glute fullness from the side pose, but they also want to see the glutes from the front pose. And we'll go into posing later too, which is like, how is that possible? But you've seen it. You've seen the wellness girls with their glutes. Like you see it from the front
I feel like that's what makes Fran's shape so good. It's like coming off of her waist, you really can see her glute.
Like waist, boom.
Exactly.
It's nuts. They also want balance, glutes, hams, quads, all of them to be the same level of muscularity. And let's talk about posing now. So for posing, this is also some things that I've noticed too with just posing clients regularly, but things that they don't want to see. They do not want you to, this is more what I'm saying versus what Tyler Mannion said on his video is obviously a lot of people who flare their lat out when they're in their side pose. So when you're in your side pose, you're showing your side glute in comparison to how small your waist
I'll
looks.
include photos. So if you want to go to the YouTube video, I'll just put like a few in so you at least know what poses we're talking about.
Yeah, and sometimes when I'm posing clients, they flare their lat out in order to bring their arm out far enough so it doesn't cover their glute. Because another thing is you don't want to cover your glute on that side pose either with that hand that is laying to the side, but you don't need to flare your lat out in order to do that.
I feel like if you are flaring your lat, it's kind of creating that like wider upper body, which is what they don't want. Yeah.
Exactly. So I'm always like, relax your arm. Just
I feel like a really good example of that is the bikini competitor Issa. Do you know what I'm talking about? She has really dominant lats, and every time she has hit that like front side bikini pose, she's very known for like that lat coming out and creating that taper. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So I feel like she started that almost.
Yeah. And you don't want to, with that division, you don't want to see overly muscular upper body. So it just makes sense with posing. So you can change that with your posing. They do not want you to push your quads out in your back pose. So we talked about this in a previous episode, but this is what Tyler Mannion was saying, that when girls are getting in the wellness back pose, they're grabbing their quads and they're pushing them so far out that you see the quad sweep like insanely.
I've done it.
Yeah, totally. And when I was training with Marissa Andrews, who is Sunny Andrews' little sister, both of them do that. And Marissa was saying that like, we can't do that anymore. But Marissa was telling me that instead now, in her back pose, she turns her knees out. And I tried it, and you don't even have to push your quads out. It works. You can see that quad sweep.
What was their reasoning for like not wanting that, you think?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure. My thought is like maybe just creating like less of a glute roundness if your quads are right there. But like I really...
Yeah, I know. But it's also like you can tell that it's not real because you can see what it looks like, because when you get into your back pose, you see it and then you see bop.
Yeah, it like comes second.
It's like, okay, wait, those are like, we know your quads are there. Like you're a wellness girl. Of course they are. So not to do that. And then also we don't want to see your torso leaning too far forward. So this is my own personal posing like critique. When you're in your side pose, or even when you're in your front pose, a lot of girls will bring their torso down, like in order to like, I don't know. Okay, I'm trying to
I know exactly what you're talking about, and I agree that it always looks better if your posture's up.
Yeah, you need to stand up straight, because the side pose is the most challenging for most people. And sometimes in order to do that turn, you start having your torso fall down forward. You want your torso to be back up straight, kind of like aligned with your glute. Same thing goes with your front pose. Like you don't want to lean too far forward.
Yeah.
Like when you're like, no one can see what I'm doing if you're listening to this. But yeah, leaning that torso too far forward in the front or the side pose. And then poor posing conditioning. Another thing that coaches, judges don't want to see is like you really struggling to hold your poses on stage. So when you're doing your posing practice, like hold them.
Yep.
Especially when you're practicing your quarter turns, like hold it for a significant amount of time. And then in your head, go quarter turn to the right. Hold that for a significant amount of time, because that's what they're going to make you do on stage. And
if they're switching girls around and you're just not being moved, and you have to hold it the entire time. So yeah, definitely practice for that. And then, oh my gosh, what was I going to say? Try not to fidget. Like practice not fidgeting. Don't touch your hair. Even if it like gets stuck to your face with makeup, like try not to like overly try to touch it. It brings attention away from your physique.
Yes. Also, don't fidget your arms so much, because you'll see girls like I did this.
Guys do that so much.
Yeah. I've done this I did it a lot on my first 2 shows, and watching it back, I'm like, what are you doing? Because
like I
keep moving my arm, my right arm, because with wellness on the front pose, you have one hand on your hip and you have one arm dangling down, and that arm I just kept. I'm like, what are you doing?
It's to add to that. They've said in the past, I don't think it's on this list, is like don't do like the teacup hand or arm.
Oh yeah, I do have it. Yeah, where it's flicked up.
Yeah, where you're like either flicked up or like overly round. Like your arm should be almost straight.
Literally just dangling right by your side, not covering your glutes. That's
you don't have to go up and around. You don't have to stick your palm to the ceiling.
No palms up.
Just hang out.
You don't need to do that. Yeah, so try not to fidget so much on stage, because that's a part of posing conditioning. Like you're able to hold the poses without moving too much. You still see a lot of the girls on the Olympia stage, like they'll adjust occasionally, but most of the time they're not fidgeting very much.
That's why they're on that level.
That's why on that level. Let's see. Another one is they don't want to see your elbows like pointed out. In the back pose. So when your hands are on top of your quads in the back pose, they don't want your elbows to be like poking out.
Yep.
Also, like it makes your back look a little bit, bigger when they're pointing out. Just keep your elbows in tight. You don't need to squeeze your back and flex it, because they're not judging you on your back muscularity for bikini or wellness, really.
My first posing coach ever, I think it was maybe my second ever, she taught me that when you place your hands like on your thighs in the back pose, just to like lightly flex your triceps. So that's what I always do, because that keeps you from flaring either way.
True. And you also want to think about like with bikini and wellness, all you can really see the majority of the time, especially if your hair is long and covering your back, you see your rear delt and your tricep. Like that's all you can really see. So just like flexing those a little bit, and that's it, and just gently placing your hands on top of there instead of like poking your elbows super far out.
Yeah.
The last thing, when I did my back pose at my national show, I leaned my torso too far forward to where like I really pushed my glutes towards the judges and my torso was leaning forward, and it actually made my glutes look worse. You'll see this a lot on stage, especially newbies. Like I did it too, but you want to, in your back pose, bring your torso back up, almost so that from the back, it looks like you're standing up straight. From the side, you look like
arching,
a pretzel.
Yeah.
You're arching so much.
Hard.
So you have that arch in your low back, and your torso is back up straight, almost as if you're trying to like align your top of your shoulders to the top of your glutes. You don't want the top of your shoulders to be leaning so far forward.
Well, if you think about like your glute fullness, like the more you stretch forward, the more you're stretching that muscle out. So to them, if you're standing straight behind you, which the judges are, it just turns like flat.
Yeah,
like
and you can't see the separation from the glute to the glute or to the tie-in and then the hamstring. You can't see that separation as well. So that was
all the don'ts.
Yeah, that was a posing thing. Do you want to go over the do's?
Sure. The first one is definition between quad and hamstring. I'm assuming that means in side pose. Yeah. Everyone's body is different in this. I noticed like someone like you do a slight knee bend, right?
I do a micro bend in my side pose because it pops out my hamstring a little bit more.
I noticed,
but my leg looks like it's straight.
Yeah, like that line that like, I feel like you can visualize it like in a side pose, that line that is straight up between like quad on one side, hamstring on the other is more visible for me if my knee is locked out. So it just depends on the person. So find what brings that line out the most for you. Sometimes it does trail up into your glute too. And that's what you want. You want to show that line off. So whatever shows it the best on you, definitely don't overbend like we said before. The second do is full, round, and very developed glutes with clear tie-ins. So again, don't push too far forward to hide those. Don't stand so straight up that
you can't even see nothing.
Yeah. Then like the under butt is going to be covering it up. So the next one is some hammy development, but not nearly too densely muscled. Do you want to explain what you mean?
Yeah, I mean, I just think this goes back to what Tyler Mannion was saying about like people were just getting like they're taking it too far and getting too muscular for the division, and it was going away from what it was originally intended to do. Another one is like they want to see like in the front pose how small your waist is in comparison to your lower body, and this goes with posing. Like when you're doing that posing, having that front pose where that hip is going back, whichever foot is in the back, because you can either have your left leg forward or you can have your right leg forward, really tilting that foot that's the back, having that hip pushing back to the wall behind you, because what that does when you turn your waist towards that way and at like that 45-degree angle-ish, it makes your waist look so much smaller versus if you had your waist forward, of course it's going to look more blocky.
Think about like standing like just straight up and down on stage versus like standing on an angle and then twisting your upper body towards that alone without even touching your lower body.
It makes you have so much more of an hourglass shape.
Yeah, a lot of bodybuilding is the posing, and you have to know how to pose for your body too, because some girls might have a naturally smaller waist and they can get away with like a slightly different pose that might look better on them. So totally dependent on you. Personality with your posing in the comparisons and in your routine. I think that one's such a big one because you want to stand out, not in a bad way. You want to blend in enough where your posing routine is up to standard and normal, but you want to add that flair. Like Julia is very good at being like the sexy girl and like putting in my opinion, you do like the hip sway and like the little hair flip. And I think I'm like that.
To me, there's 3 different types of posers. I think there's sensual posers, there's bubbly posers, and there's angelic posers. You're an angelic poser.
Really?
Yeah, I think.
Oh, okay.
Personally.
I'll take it.
Angelic to me is like Laura Lee Chapados, which is she's not Miss Bikini Olympia, but she's on the Olympia stage. But angelic, where your movements are very slow and they're methodical and it's very smooth. There's not too much like quick, fiery movements, and you kind of glide when you're on stage. Someone who has a posing style that's more sensual is Urishna, for sure. She's fiery. She's like bam, bop, bop, bop. When she walks, it's like bam, bam, bam. And when she flips her hair, it's like fast, quick movements, like winking, smiling, flipping of the hair. It's like very sensual. Like she's trying to like seduce the judges, you know?
And it works.
Every time I see it, I'm like, oh my God. And then there's like more bubbly, which is to me like Issa, which was number 2 Wellness Olympia, where she walks and she has more like pep in her step. Yeah. Like she's like very like cheerleadery. Either one, all of them are amazing. It's just like which one goes with your personality. I feel like you're very angelic to where you don't have very like quick movements. They're all like very methodical and
A lot of that is because I'm nervous, so I need to slow down. Like if I attempted that like bubbly, like faster pace, I know I would go through my routine way too quickly.
I have too much anxiety that I need to be like bop bop because like I'm like I need something to go. I need my energy to go somewhere. So I mean, there's probably more styles, but those are the three main ones that I'm like, oh, like she looks very bouncy and bubbly. Yeah. Oh, she's very like sensual, or she's very angelic, like very smooth. If you guys go to my posing highlight on Instagram, I have these 3 different types of styles that I've noticed. This is just my personal opinion, and tons of posing tips for wellness if you want to look. But also, like Kendall was saying, with the personality on stage, like everyone's gonna have their own their different personality, their different like signature moves and stuff like that, and you gotta smile. Like, you gotta smile.
Oh, yeah.
Urishna, and a lot of the Olympians, like, you also have to think about when you're doing your routine, like, once you get to a level of posing where you're actually thinking about posing in the sense of, like, my hair choreography, my smile choreography. Like, there's certain faces I make on certain poses.
It's like a dance.
Yeah, it's like a dance. Like, when I am hitting, like, my first front pose, I'm smiling. When I flick my hair, it's more, like, serious. And then when I'm going around into the corner, like, my mouth is slightly open. Like, there's different faces and
mouth choreography.
There's mouth choreography, there's hair choreography, there's hand choreography that goes with certain things, but, like, smile. For sure.
Yeah, that also allows you to like connect with the judges. If you look miserable on stage.
And also look at the judges.
Yeah. Oh, that's such a good point. I feel like a lot of people either stare down the judges the entire time or they won't look at them at all. I think you need a good balance. Look out in like when you first walk out, I like to make contact with like every judge. I will look at all of them. Yeah. Like I know at nationals there's like a good amount. I think it's like 7 sometimes. And I just made sure I like kind of connected with all of them, made sure they saw me as like a human. I feel like that's important. And then like maybe my next pose, I would like look out in the crowd and like you don't have to stare at them the whole time, but making connections with like certain people, I feel like kind of helps you get your personality across too. Yeah. Another thing is just like having a good stage presence, confidence, a good walk. Those are so important because you want to grab their attention the second you step on stage.
That's the first thing that you see is the walk. And if the walk is like your wobbly hunched shoulders, you need to have your chest up and when you're especially a bikini and a wellness competitor, it's like your back is arched all the time. Like you're always walking with a arched back because you want to keep your glutes up high. You want your chest up, your shoulders back. That's the first thing they see is how confident your walk is. And it's crazy the difference it makes when you have a confident walk and a good posing routine versus you're good at posing, but your walk is terrible. Like it does.
It's like that initial like vibe. Like you even if you're not a judge and you're just watching a show, like you can tell who's seasoned, who's been up there multiple times, and that's who like your eye kind of goes towards versus like the nervous girl that's like barely swaying her arms as she walks. And
even
stuff
in real life, like in real life, when you see like a girl that's like walking like in the mall and she's like bop bop, your eyes just automatically go to her. Versus if you see someone just kind of like shrugging, like beep, 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 doing the grocery store walk, like you don't notice them as much versus like the girl that's like like if you saw Urishna, obviously like if you saw her in public, like you would freak out anyways just because she's massive and beautiful. But like if you see her just like walking the way that she does on stage, like in a mall, you're automatically gonna be like, the fuck?
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh my God, where's she going? I want to go.
Exactly.
And it's just like, how are you going to captivate your judges? And also, I did this posing seminar a couple of weeks back with Marissa Andrews, and Sheila Brown was there, and she's one of the top like wellness posing ladies. She's also judges and stuff. And she was like my first posing coach when I first started, and she said like make contact with each of the judges because sometimes people get locked on to one judge and they only stare at that one judge when all of them are judging you. Yeah. So like what Kendall was saying, like go out there, make contact with all the judges. You want to like not like stare them down, but you want to like make a connection with each one of them. Like, hi. Yeah. Hi. So sometimes people like, when they see me posing like on my stories and stuff, I'm looking left and I'm looking middle and I'm looking right. And they're like, why are you doing that? I was like, because I'm looking at each judge.
My little stuffed animals I've set up as my judges.
Literally practice that. Like the way that you practice your posing is how you're going to do it on stage. 100%. If you're not smiling, I've done this before. I practiced my first posing routine for nationals and I didn't smile. I just did my routine and I looked so scary on stage.
Yep.
I'll go into this later also when we go into beauty standards, which is next. But yeah, my boyfriend was like, you didn't smile. I was like, I didn't. He goes, no, you look scary.
It's so funny because nationals for me too, I'm so like every time I would practice smiling the whole time, but nationals was the first time I ever felt nervous on stage.
Same.
And I was like, and I think it was you. You were like in this crowd. It was either you or my mom. You were near each other.
Yeah.
And one of you were like, smile. And I was like, oh yeah. Forgot about that part.
Smile. You have to look like you're having a good time.
Yeah.
Like you want when you walk out to be like, oh, she's owning the stage. She's having a good time. Not like she wants to be there.
Yeah.
Another thing that I didn't even have on this list is just the pace in which you're walking with your posing routine. I've made this mistake before. I did this in my first pro show where I was so nervous and anxious that I was walking way too fast and I did my routine way too quickly.
Mm-hmm.
And it to me makes it look like you're ready to get your ass off stage. Like you're like pose, and you're like, bye. It looks like you're very anxious and you're just excited to get off of stage. So really slowing your walk down. This is just my personal opinion, but I'd rather someone walk like too slow than too fast.
Yeah.
You know?
I like watching that too. Like you can tell the girls that are like taking their time, like you can tell that they feel more confident and that, like you said, they're not trying to like brush off or whatever. I have 2 little tips just for like, if you really are new to the wellness world or competing in general. The first one is for timing. I think I was taught you want to hold every pose enough to get 2 photos done. So like hold it, give the photographer, click. Exactly. Like that's what I always think of as like 1, 2, transition, side pose, give it a good 1, 2, and then transition, back pose. So that's like a good way routine. Yeah. Okay. Which like, that's not a pro routine. Like your routine's much longer.
So much longer. Like usually your routine for amateurs is about like 15 seconds and pros are anywhere from 45 seconds to a minute.
Yeah.
So obviously you have so much more time to add a bunch of stuff. But when you are an amateur with your posing, one thing they don't want to see too is you do the T walk like the pros do. I've had some posing people where they're amateurs and they do have them do the T walk, but most NPC shows they don't want you to do the T walk. They want you to walk straight from backstage, straight to the exits at the front. Yeah, you
kind of like walk on like a diagonal.
Walk to the diagonal. You don't do the pro T walk.
Depends on the show.
Yeah, and another thing, like you have such a short amount of time, like when you're an amateur to like show them like everything that you've worked so hard for, like when you're there. So just like, you know,
let them see it.
Make yourself known.
Bathe in it.
You want them to remember you.
My last tip for like new competitors not knowing how to pose. I would first off recommend getting a posing coach if you really don't know what you're doing. But if you're doing it on your own, a big tip, just a reminder, you're going to be on a stage and the judges are not going to be on a stage. So when you're practicing in a mirror and always seeing yourself at eye level, just remember, like maybe prop a phone up like down at your feet because that's what they're going to see. That's the angle they're going to be sitting at.
And you're not going to have a mirror when you're on
Exactly.
stage.
So also practice not in front of a mirror. I think towards like the last few weeks of my prep, I would always practice just in front of like my windows.
Yeah.
And I would prop up my phone at that like judge's angle and then I would watch it back and be like, oh, okay, I need to fix this here instead of like fixing it in real time. So that's just my last little posing tip for newbies.
Well, let's go to the last section of this wellness division, and that's beauty standards. So I feel like this isn't talked about that much because it's kind of like unspoken. Some of these are unspoken and some of them are just like you just have
We're gonna speak about them.
Like there's 2 different types of suits that you can wear for the wellness division. You can either wear the wellness cup, which is in the shape of like a bra almost, or you can wear a bikini one, which is the triangle.
Yeah.
You've seen competitors do either or. It's just preference.
Do you think they're ever gonna make it like a standard?
I don't think so.
Okay. I didn't know if they just weren't doing it because it was new.
I hate the triangle. It doesn't look good on me. I'm the bra.
It's so weird because I've done both and I do think I looked better in like the molded cup bra.
Yeah, especially if you don't have like implants or you like lose a significant amount of
which I do.
Boobie. Like the cup one does help for sure.
Yeah,
it does help. Shoes, it's the typical clear shoes that you wear because I think it's mainly to just put the focus on your physique rather than like your shoes. You can get those at Shoe Fairy. Those are my favorite ones.
I've gotten pairs on Amazon too. The only problem is like sizing is so inconsistent with clear heels because they're like a weird plastic. So I think I ordered 2 pairs and one was too big, one was too small, and I ended up buying like a third one. So just be careful. Like if you're gonna buy shoes and your suit, get it with enough time that if changes need to be made, you can make them.
Definitely. Jewelry, typically it's all silver. Like they usually don't do any gold or colors or anything like that. And it's like diamonds, like just try not to wear too much. A good rule of thumb is like the dangly earrings, a bracelet or two, and then a ring. Usually what I'll do is I'll wear the dangly gold diamondy earrings, whatever they are of my choice. And then I have like a thick bracelet and then like a thin one and then like a ring on the other hand. And that's usually all I do.
Yeah. And I always buy like cheap jewelry because I'm only going to wear it once. I'm going to get tan all over it.
You can get those literally anywhere. My last show, I wanted some new ones. I literally got them at Claire's.
Yeah. I think that's where I got my bracelet.
Yeah. And you can get them like at any of these places also. This like glam competition jewelry. You can even get them at Claire's. Like I said, you can get them at Angel's competition suits.
Shoe Fairy even has them.
Most of the competitor suit places, shoe places, whatever they are, they also have jewelry too.
And then we did another, I think it was in Bodybuilding Basics, where I think we talked all about suits and stuff. So just like a reminder, if you want like a full rundown on colors and all of that, I think we really talked
about so much. Yeah, because with the suits, obviously too, you do like the glittery ones, like posing suits typically are just like the fabric. They don't have glitter. And then the competition is like all the glitter and the colors. So yeah, go watch that episode. We talk about colors and sizing
we went really
and stuff.
In depth on that
one. We did. And hair, typically it's down and it's covering your back and it's styled how you like, whether it's like wavy, curly, or straight. Make sure it's not too long so that it doesn't cover your suit from the back or your glutes. So like right now, my hair is too long to compete. Like it would definitely cover some of my glute and it would definitely cover the top of my suit. So I would say like cutting it like the longest would be like right at the top of your suit, right? Yeah. And anything longer than that, I probably wouldn't do. And then
even if you have long hair, like my hair almost touches my butt on its own, I would still wear extensions on stage too. You just want like really full, pretty hair. Like you don't want like weird, like your back peeking through because your hair's thin or whatever. So like make sure it's all uniform, same length, pretty from the back, not covering your glutes at all.
Yeah, it's always, and they have such cheap options too for extensions. They have that like, I've seen that one that's like the halo.
Yeah, I've never used it, but literally, I've seen it.
Like now I just have extensions that are sewn in because I just love having long hair year round. But before, I would only put my extensions in and they were just clip-ins like right before I would compete and that's it. Yep. But now I'm like, I love to have long hair year round, so I'm going to keep it sewn to my head. Now for makeup, try to match your face the best that you can to your tan. It shouldn't be the same color because like in real life, our faces are lighter than our actual body. There's nothing crazier than when like the face is so starkly different than the physique. Like it looks a little, especially on stage with the lights, like it washes you out. You do have to wear a little bit more makeup than normal because you want to think of it as like a performance. Like, you know, like in theater stuff, like how they do stage makeup, like you're going to do it up a little bit more.
The lights will wash you off. Like, especially as a fellow super pale girl, I always had to do like really dark face makeup just for it to like stay on my face and like not look splotchy. Cause you don't want any of that like pale skin like coming through your forehead. Like it's gonna stick out. So like you really have to like bronze it up, tan it up. I know it feels like kind of funny. I know you've done your own makeup for multiple shows. I always just like got the makeup service that the show provided, and I've been like, do your job, do what you got to do.
Yeah, usually if you do it with the show too, it's they typically do a good job, right? Yeah.
Because they at least have like the full color range.
They also know that like they're getting a tan and stuff like that. With the makeup, I would say too, don't tan your face. It doesn't help. I feel like it just makes it worse. So just stay clear of tanning your face and just do what you can with makeup instead. And you've seen like a lot of girls, like they'll do colors that match their suit. Like if they have a blue suit, they'll have like blue eyeshadow. It's completely up to you. I always just go the more neutral route because it's safe. Yeah. I just know that it's safe.
I'm always like, give me like a brown smoky eye.
Yeah, I always like brown smoky eye and like something glittery, like some sort of glitter is great. But what I'm thinking about for my next show, because I'm pretty sure my suit's like going to be lavender, is that I want to do like, I want my eyes to be more like butterfly-y, like lavender, not like bright purple, but just like softer like that. So that's what I'm thinking of, but nothing like too extra. Lips, always safe route for lips is like neutrals or something that's a pink, because
I did red once. Not the move.
I did dark red once, and and that was also the show where I was with you, and I didn't smile, and I looked terrifying.
Yeah,
and I'm pretty sure.
I was smiling with the red lipstick, and I looked terrifying. I was like, who let me go on stage?
Right.
I had a red suit, so I was like, I'm matching it.
Yeah.
Not my vibe. Obviously, there's women out there that pull off a red lip. I'm just not one of those people. But yeah, I always do like a mauve color on stage, like a darkish, like
because I feel like if you do like complete nude, then it looks like you have no lips. But if you do like a nude, because for me the nudes that look best are like nude with a little bit of like warmer colors to it, and then like you like nude with a little bit more like mauve, so that it just doesn't look like you have no lips, and you can still see a little bit of color. Or like pinks are always safe too. The point is, like, they want to see a whole package. They're judging you on your physique, your stage presence, your confidence, like how you present yourself with your hair and your makeup, like a whole package. Like, they want the whole package. So make sure that all those things are also
you don't want to like deduct points just because you're not like your bikini doesn't fit you right, or because your hair is too long. Like those little things, like that's not where you want to lose any sort of scoring. So
for sure. They literally judge on the entire package, like everything, posing, as soon as you walk out on stage, how you're walking, your confidence, like how your hair and makeup looks, all of those things. So yeah, that is judging criteria, guys.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Let us know what you think. And as always, we love you all so much, and you're more powerful than you think.
Bye.
Bye.